Good evening and welcome to another episode of Did We Make Ourselves Clear, the podcast that clarifies the subject matters of love, life, and everything in between. If you have not got a chance to like us, please do on our Facebook page.
Thumbs up.
Definitely thumbs up our YouTube channel, as well as hit that notification button. Today, we have our very first small business spotlight.
But hold on, cuz you didn't let me introduce myself. You left that part out.
I have not done. I haven't got to that point yet.
My bad. Let's get to the point.
I ain't gonna forget you, man. And we're heating up right now, summertime, for a small business spotlight with a very important person. But first, let me introduce
myself.
My cuzzo.
You did. KP in the building, man.
Right on,
What's happening, man? Did we make ourselves clear? Just happy to be here, man. And we got a very, very special guest, cuzzo.
That's right.
You know what I mean? She's doing things that I find to be near and dear to my heart because it's dealing with workforce. And I would like to just bring up the great, the classic St. Louis and Miss Keona Phillips, who's the founder of the Diversity Place. It's based right here in St. Louis with more than 15 years of human resource experience under her belt. She noticed a lack of resources that provided diverse candidates for job openings. To fill that gap, she's created a platform where companies can connect with qualified, diverse members of the community. And today, she's going to share tips on how to do a resume refresh. Yo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
No doubt. No doubt. Good to have you. We in here.
Looking forward to it.
Well, tell us a little bit about the Diversity Place. Tell us about the path that you walked that led you to founding this place.
So the Diversity Place, so just a little background, as was mentioned, I have about 15 years of human resources experience, which about 10 of those years was mainly focused on recruiting. So I found that in my journey, of course, you know, finding diverse candidates, it's not just a thing now. You know, it's always something that's been on the radar of some companies. A lot of companies had to, you know, catch on. But ultimately, it's something that I've always strived to do in my recruiting and identifying diverse candidates. Sometimes it was difficult, sometimes it wasn't. I found that there just weren't there were some resources, but just not a lot of resources, like a consolidated resource where you can go to one location. And when we talk about identifying diverse candidates, we're talking about, you know, people of color, we're talking about women, we're talking about people that may be differently abled, you know, veterans, LGBTQ community, you know, things of that nature.
The whole bunch.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to create some type of online platform that companies can access to be able to connect with those from different underrepresented communities.
So Ms. Keona, if I could ask a quick question.
Yes.
So I see that you started off with recruitment, and hats off to you on recruitment, because I do understand doing that is probably the most heaviest lift in workforce development when you're trying to sift through the many people that are looking for jobs. People have these characters out here and don't have soft skills, and you have to sift through that just to find positions and fill those positions. So that's a really high stress, you know, career path, honestly. And then you got smart on them and you innovated the game by taking it to a virtual platform, because that's really what's happening today. So how did you really get to the point where you realized that you were going to make this a technical thing and not just boots on the ground, you know, knocking on these doors and passing out flyers as a lot of recruiters know about?
Yeah, no, very good question. The direction with technology and things like that, just trying to be forward thinking and figuring out, okay, 10 years from now, what could this potentially look like? I started my journey in this. I remember I had my first conversation regarding this in 2019. So this was prior to the pandemic.
This was before the pandemic. I was just about to ask that. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Prior to the pandemic. And I knew that there was a need where companies, you know, who's looking to diversify their workforce to reflect the communities that they serve. And then on the flip side, you know, I know that there's a lot of individuals within underrepresented groups who's unable to find the type of opportunity that they're looking for. So there was a miss there. So I was looking to be that connector, if you will.
I get it. No,
so
I get it.
That was the reason. That was the reason why.
Okay.
That's
well,
awesome.
tell us how, like, when we go to your site, does there what can they expect for as an experience on your online presence, from your online presence?
So I like to call it a career campus. I like to think of it as a place. That's why it's called the diversity place.
Okay.
I love it.
So it's a career campus. It's where career seekers can create a profile, which will essentially be their virtual office, if you will. And so from their virtual office, they can, you know, apply the different jobs, which we call our virtual career fair area. They can also post up their resumes. They can post up to 5 resumes within the website. Because there's a resume database aspect to it.
So these have real connections to employment and positions where they can post these resumes and they really can have an opportunity, like instantaneously.
Absolutely. We are continuously seeking to build relationships with different organizations within the community. Of course, St. Louis is near and dear to me, just because I'm here. And even though this particular platform is nationwide, but I'm putting a concerted effort in St. Louis just because it is home, and I know there's a need here.
Absolutely. And you're doing diversity. And speaking of diversity, a lot of these job boards out here today, they confuse a lot of people that are beginning in the, you know, in the workforce and don't have these said skills. How user friendly is the Diversity Place website, and what makes it different?
It's very intuitive. I made sure that it wasn't overcomplicated. It's very easy to use. But you hit on a really good point in terms of, you know, people skill sets are different. And so there's also an education piece associated with my career campus. So again, on the organization side, where companies can come in, post jobs, they can access the resume database to find, you know, candidates for their positions. But on the other side, there's the education piece, because ultimately, you know, I think there's a need in our communities for better insight in terms of what your resume should look like, interviewing skills, you know, once you get the job, you know, career advice and things of that nature. So there will be and is, you know, newsletters, you know, just different things to be able to provide that education. Of course, you know, all that is free, you know, there's no fee or anything like that. I just think it's important to be able to be competitive within the job marketplace. It's important that we equip our folks with the information.
That's real. The soft skills are something that needs to be translated to folks out here, because a lot of times it's based off how you were raised. And if you're not out here seeking professional development or having access, you know, to the technology to even be able to utilize this technology, then you're going to be lost, because they're saying the next 10 years is going to be so technologically driven that by 2030, a lot of these regular jobs that entry-level people can afford to get are not going to be there because they're going to be fully automated. So are you learning about programming and all those, digital things,
Exactly. I wanted to just jump in there. I think you've mentioned it before, but you don't have to live in a certain area to take advantage of these resources, or do you?
No,
I just want to get some clarity. Okay.
It's nationwide. Actually, the capability is worldwide.
That's right.
But we're not focusing on worldwide just yet. We're focusing on the states.
Good.
That's great. That's
definitely a concerted effort in St. Louis, Missouri.
Very good. Very good.
So I want to ask a question. People who are just as involved, people who may have some blemishes on their record, they are also near and dear to me. How many resources are, available on your website, on your job board, or are there, if any, for people that have maybe felonies on their records?
That is absolutely on my radar as well. Partnering with different, because that's near and dear to me personally as well.
Ma'am. Absolutely.
That is definitely on my radar. I'm partnering with different organizations. I'm in the process of identifying different organizations who may have clients that kind of fall into that category. And then also finding those organizations who are felon friendly. I think is important for them to be able to connect as well. But then also educating a lot of companies who may not necessarily call themselves felon friendly. I mean, there's some benefit here in terms of tapping into this
absolutely
market, so I think there's a lot of conversations that need to take place around
that's exactly what I feel. Yes, you need to use that sector-based strategy approach, to kind of influence the corporate sector to buy in and see what's really in it for them. And what's in it for them is an untapped market, because I've seen a lot of talented folks, they can't get opportunity just because of their past.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's great.
So what are your personal goals as far as a businesswoman? The representation is really strong today. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, I'm hoping to, of course, still be engulfed in the diversity place. I certainly have like a 10-year plan in terms of where I would like to see it go 10 years from now, being able to offer different resources and different services. Right now, we are a small business, so we are limited right now in terms of what we're able to provide. So definitely focusing on the connections piece right now, but ultimately being able to have services where, resume services, being able to do mock interviews, being able to have one-on-one coaching, things like that.
Speaking of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's something that I would love to do, a few years out from now.
That sounds fantastic.
That is awesome.
Speaking of that resume writing opportunities, what are some of the resume pitfalls do you think people need to avoid in order to, get into better situations?
Since we're talking about resume, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's a few things I can list here. So as far as resumes, a few don'ts. Don't put your picture on the resume. I have seen that in the past. Don't put your personal hobbies on your resume. I also, and this may, I don't know, this is something that I truly feel could, just being within the recruiting field, I've seen things, right? So I think not putting your address on your resume, putting that you're in St. Louis, putting your city and state is fine, but not putting your address. I think the address was initially listed on your resume because companies used to mail letters to you.
Yes, correspondence. It was
Yeah,
strictly
everything.
correspondence.
Right. Everything.
Nowadays, it'll cause a bias. Still, they're like, "Oh man, look at that zip code."
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
work against
so
you.
I say to stay away from that because
That's
there
good
could be
advice.
instances where someone could, basically profile you in a sense.
Basically.
And under that same category, not listing your high school.
Oh yes.
I don't think you should list your high school. You should put that you are a high school graduate, that you do have your high
Yes.
school diploma. You can list your college or your university, but don't put the date that you graduated from college.
Okay.
Okay.
But, certainly you can put your
That's
major
real.
and things like that. Also, like the mission and objective statement, I think that we have been taught to add that onto your resume. And I'm just going to tell you, as a recruiter, I never read those. I never read those. The mission objective statement, it's a paragraph. I mean, a recruiter is going to look at your resume for 6 seconds.
That's
and
right.
Make the determination if you're going to be moving forward or not.
Gotcha.
So I don't have time to be reading a mission statement.
Right.
On the other side of that, and I know we'll probably get to what the things that we should add on there. The other side of that, we should certainly add in like a summary of qualifications, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. Okay. But the paragraph of the mission statement and the objective and things like that, unless you're changing careers. If you're changing careers, maybe that's something that can be added. But those are the things, I would say, are the typical pitfalls.
Okay. That's real. Being too wordy and, thinking that someone is going to actually take the time out to read a novel about your life is just not going to happen.
Right.
I've heard that being said a lot of times. And what is your advice on using keywords on your resume? Because we're hearing a lot of times in workforce development, they talk about using strategic keywords that really makes your resume stand out. What are some of those words?
The keywords that I would say to use, I would say to connect it back to the job description. I mean, there are nice words that you can add onto your resume and make it, look good, things like that. But when it comes down to the content of your resume, the main thing that the recruiter is looking for is, they have this job that they're recruiting for. They know the type of qualifications that they're looking for. If they see similarities of what they're, the job description and your resume, then they'll be able to connect those dots, right? So they're looking for someone who
qualifications
have, the type of qualifications or have
transferable skills.
The transferable skills, being able to see that there is a complementary relationship here. So I mean, that's what I will focus on rather than thinking of $1 million words to add to your resume.
Well, that's sound advice.
Can you give us a few more tips that you would say would be positives besides what you just said?
Yes.
Maybe a couple more.
Absolutely. So making sure that your resume is applicable to the job, that kind of taps into what I just spoke about. But I think the biggest misconception is that, once you have one good resume, that's all you need. Now, unless you're only applying to one type of job.
Right.
I don't. That's not the way to go. You need to try to have a resume for every type of job that you're actually applying for. If you know that you're applying for, this type of job A, this type of job B, and this type of job C, I think you should have 3 different resumes because you need to make.
You're speaking of targeted resumes.
Yes. Because ultimately, you want the recruiter to be able to see that there is a connection there.
That's right.
Again, I keep saying you have to be able to connect those dots. So again, making sure that the resume is applicable to the job. Looking at the job description, it should trigger some thoughts of things that maybe you have experience with. If you do have experience with those things, add them to your resume.
Right. And that's right. I
guess a few other things, using bullet points to kind of list out the responsibilities that you may have had in your past positions. Don't do a paragraph. You have to be easy to read, quick bullet points of the type of responsibilities that you've had. Having a professional email address.
That's right. That's key. So
When
you
I
mean
see
to tell
a
me I can't?
resume,
You mean to
it's
tell me
like,
I can't have KP get money at
yeah,
gmail.com
like howdy baby
and
girl
go
at
to
Gmail. No,
at
make
Pretty
sure it
West
is
Mutual? Yeah,
exactly. Make sure it's professional,
right.
because you don't want them to make any type of judgment before they speak to you. The goal is for them to call
True.
you, you know.
Yeah, that's facts.
So you want to make sure that that you're providing a just the resume is reflecting in a professional light, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Um, anything. I think those are the main things. I guess I
Okay.
would say.
I think those are great tips.
Those are excellent tips. Excellent tips. Because I actually do work in that field of mentoring folks with job coaching and things of that nature. So everything you're saying is like spot on, and people really don't consider that the ever changing workforce, you have to constantly be abreast of what's happening. And when you're using the chronological style resumes where you're putting all those dates, it may go so far back that everything is not even useful to the job you're applying for in the day. So you really have to learn about those skills resumes and those targeted resumes that kind of only speak to the qualifications that's being asked for.
Exactly. If you had a job 10 years from now and it really does not apply to the job you're applying for now, don't list it. If you had a long gap in your employment, what I recommend is listing out the positions that you've had, the positions that are applicable to the type of job that you're applying for, but don't put dates.
Absolutely.
Don't put the years
dates will
there.
sink your battleship.
Exactly. Because
yes.
Again, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with taking time off. There's women that may take a break, to raise the kids.
Maternity,
that may take a break to go to school or what have you. Have all these different scenarios.
Right.
But again, I've seen it. Like I said, I've seen it all. I've heard it all.
In most cases, for a worker, it's not plausible to be out of work for too long, because the longer you're out, the more unemployable you become. Your marketability just goes down. It really does. But are there any stories that you have of you, like, looking out for someone that was a job seeker, or a story about you introducing someone to a new opportunity that was particularly inspiring or rewarding for you personally?
Yes. Actually, the story that comes to mind more so speak to, just being influential, to hiring managers and things like that. When you're dealing with jobs that historically have, where the industry is mainly, white men, and when they're posting the jobs, you have to have X amount of experience within the industry. Okay, so if you're looking to diversify, then that means that you need to get a little creative and tweak some things. So in those type of scenarios, I have had conversations with hiring managers to kind of make them aware, okay, if you're looking for the same, then you're going to get the same. So you have to be open and look at other experiences that may be transferable to these type of roles. That'll open you up to a whole new group of underrepresented folks,
absolutely, untapped market, as you alluded to earlier. And that's really where it's at, because if we don't focus on that, some of these industries that we know and love today would no longer be here, because of that simple, workforce pipeline problem that they're having. And, I don't want to see that happen. I think it's very great what you're doing for individuals out there, giving people the introduction to technology, because that is the way of the future. And our people, living in a capitalistic system, we must learn how to play by the rules, and we must learn the rules of engagement. So hats off to you, Queen, for doing the thing, economically empowering our folks. And I tell you to go stop by the good folks at the Urban League as well and see if you can make a partnership there. And, they have a client base that really would really benefit from what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I want to also just thank you for being with us today, and also thank those who are in the room. I want to shout out
Summer.
Two of the people. Summer Richardson, thank you.
We see you, lady.
For dropping in with us.
Big
I would
up.
like to say, Cynthia, thanks for dropping in with us today.
Yeah.
And all those who are still watching us. I'm sorry. I wanted to switch the roles and say, from an employer standpoint. We've noticed that it's been kind of hard to find talent since the economy has started to improve.
That's right.
What suggestions or tips would you offer them right now with this, since?
That's a good question. Work-life balance. Right now, I think the key to really tapping into those who may even still be working right now. If you offer, work from home options, just people are looking for work-life balance right now. I think being able to look into those type of avenues, along with, you're right. I mean, there's definitely more companies looking to hire folks than there are people available, which is good for the candidates, but not so good for the companies. But certainly, I would look into, just different options and work-life balance.
Okay.
Right.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers today that we may not have covered that talks more about, that highlights the diversity place?
Yeah, we touched a lot, but is there anything you want to, leave our viewers with?
That's right.
I guess I would just say, definitely, check us out, check the website out. And also, we're on social media. Again, we are here for the community. We do have, we're offering 30-day free 30-day job postings for employers right now. And then also, again, for those who are looking, those who, create their profile and have their virtual office, we're certainly, looking to just have different education pieces available to you. But we're also looking to hear from you too. That makes us a little bit different, to where we also want to hear what type of things do you struggle with? What are the things that you want to hear about, to make sure that we're catering to that as well.
That's fantastic.
That's so dope, man.
Well, we thank you again for joining us today.
Straight up.
For all of our viewers out there, be sure to tune in next Tuesday, July 27th, for Taylor Casey Perhowski of The Scent Beauty. She's going to share tips on how to get your look and a makeover. So looking forward to you, and looking forward to seeing you guys continue to join us.
And big shout out again to Miss Keona and the diversity place, because diversity is the segue to inclusion, and that's the end game. And I also want everybody that's watching to check out the audio versions also of the podcast on our Patreon page at patreon.com/ or backspace Did We Make Ourselves Clear. There's also a way you can show your support for the work we're doing here. And remember to subscribe, thumbs up, and turn on the notifications if you're watching us live on your YouTube channel. Big up. And you know what? I know the Lord ain't just brought us this far to drop us off here. Did we make ourselves clear? Peace.
Peace.